Hi and welcome to the Thrunite channel. So in today's video we have a wide range of different LED flashlights, from single LED flashlights to multiple LEDs. In this case we have a ton of UV LEDs as well as in this case, and on the end here we have 3 higher powered UV lights. So it's going to be interesting to see how these compare to each other. Actually, later when I do the beam shots, instead of going outside, which is not going to give you a great idea of how these work, I actually have some test papers with some different fluorescent ink on there, like a highlighter ink. I have it on black paper as well as white paper, so we can see how these actually illuminate that ink. So that should be kind of fun and different. So starting from the left here, we have the new Thrunite Archer UV. This currently sells for $19.95. Next up we have the Olight. This is the i5 UV EOS. I believe these are discontinued. These are going to be around $79.99 and up because you have to find it on the secondary market. Next to that here we have the Nitecore Tiki UV. These are currently $19.95. Next to that we have a Fenix LD02. This is version 2.0. Those usually sell for about $29.95. Next to that we have the Escolite UV. Very common on Amazon. These currently sell for $11.99. Then in the middle here, we have the Darkbeam UV. These generally go for about $12.99. Then we have the Glossday, also a very common one you'll find across Amazon. Those are $10.99. And on the end here, this is the Beast, quite literally the uvBeast, version 3. And these go for $59.99. All right, so right off the bat, because I'm not going outside, I will tell you that the uvBeast here has the most throw, as you can imagine, just by the setup here. We have 3 higher powered UV LEDs, a ton of rechargeable power in the body there. So this actually has a ton of throw. Offhand, I really can't think of why you would need UV with so much throw. If you happen to have an idea of that, feel free to post it in the comment section. But besides that, the only lights here that really have significant throw are both the Thrunite Archer UV as well as the Olight i5 UV. All right, so if you wanted like an EDC style flashlight that has a UV LED and capability, but you want some actual projection and throw, like you can, shine it across the room 10, 15 feet, these would be your options for a small package. This would be your option if you really wanted to reach out there. All right, now these 3 here, they're okay. It's mostly just kind of close up, and these 3 here is same deal. This actually projects a lot of light, but it doesn't really have as much throw as you would think. So anyway, I just wanted to show how each one of these lights work, and then we're going to get right to the testing. All right, so starting here with the Thrunite Archer UV, very small EDC style. We have a flat bottom, so you can tail stand it if you'd like to. This one runs on a single AA battery. All right, that's not included in this light. I just popped in an Energizer, little alkaline. You just twist the head to turn on, and that is it. One mode, we have the UV light. Now, as you can see here, we have a whole area light, but you can see that hot spot in the middle. All right, like I said before, this does actually give you some throw. Next up here is the Olight i5 UV. All right, this one also runs on a single AA battery. Okay, again, just an alkaline in there. Now this one also just has one mode, has a tail switch, so you just turn it on, and that's it. And again, you can see that hot spot for throw, as well as an area light. Next up here is the Nitecore Tiki UV. Now this actually has multiple LEDs in it, multiple different modes. It just happens to also have a UV light in it. So if you were to do a long press, it automatically does the highest output for momentary on. All right, just clicking it twice, it turns it on, then you can individually change the mode there. But it's actually 3 clicks to turn the side on. And now you can see this is the UV, actual UV light that's projecting. And then you can switch to a side LED as well. So the focus on this light is to be multi-purpose, not specifically just UV like a lot of the other lights here, but I wanted to throw it in comparison just to show it. Next up here, the Fenix LD02 version 2. This also has a separate LED. It's going to be very hard to see here, but you can see the top part, that dark circle, that's actually the dedicated, very, very small UV LED. All right, so back the camera back out. There's a tail switch on this one. When you turn it on, you see right now it happens to be in that mode for the UV light. But but this also has other modes. Okay, so there's a low, high, turbo, and then we have the UV. Now in this particular case, even though I'm not focusing on beam shots yet, you could see, because that is a small LED in the corner, there is a ton of artifacts. It almost looks like some kind of galaxy or something. All right, so just something to note there. Next up here is the Escolite. Now, when you're looking at the Escolite, as well as when I get to the Glossday, these are offered in different size heads. This is the smallest one. So I believe this is something like 68 LEDs or whatever it happens to be. They also have a head that's 100 LEDs and maybe 200 LEDs. So there's different sizes for these, but this is the smallest. To use this, all you gotta do is click the switch and it's on. Now I forgot to mention, let me back up just a second here. Our Fenix is running on a single AAA battery. Okay, same deal, just an alkaline. And this Escolite is actually running on 3 AA batteries. All right, all alkalines, nothing rechargeable. This has one of those little battery packs in there. Okay, so we have 3 AA batteries. Now, something else I want to note about this one in testing this doesn't always come on. It actually has loose contacts. So sometimes when I turn this on, nothing happens. I have to literally hit the head of it to get it to work. All right, so just kind of lower quality there. All right, next up here is the Darkbeam. All right, so there's a switch on the back here. Just click the switch and you can see this has a little magnifying lens, so you can actually adjust this for throw, or they say throw, but realistically what ends up happening is as I back up here, we get just a large image of what the LED looks like, which is super common for this style of light. If I actually come to a center spot right there, it's focused. This is what the LED would look like if you looked at it maybe under a magnifying glass. All right, so it's actually projecting the shape of the LED. But apparently this is supposed to be adjustable, you know, for all spill or for throw. But generally speaking, it doesn't work very well in that case. I would just leave this down and just have it as an even area light, which does work very well if you want UV up close. All right, this one also runs on just a single alkaline AA battery. So you pop the back out, you can see that there. So next up here we have the Glossday. Same thing, we have just a side button. All right, one click. You can see this has just a little bit more throw in comparison to, let's say, the Escolite, but these are very, very similar, not only in the options of having bigger heads and more LEDs, but also the battery power, again, is going to be a battery pack that holds 3 alkaline AA batteries. All right, very simple. And last up here, we have the uvBeast V3. This is, again, has 3 higher powered UV LEDs in there. This is also running on 2, I'll show you real quick, rechargeable 18650 lithium ion batteries. So there's a lot more energy. All right, and this actually comes with a tube, an extension tube, if you want to make this longer and run on 3 of them. All right, but it does not include a 3rd battery. This is actually like a whole little kit that came with this. All right, but it is also the most expensive on the table. This has a switch on the back, and like I said, this is the brightest and also, of course, has the most throw. You can see that hot spot in the middle there. All right, so that is the uvBeast. All right, so what I did was dim the lights a little bit so that you could still see what's going on, but it's just a little bit darker. So first up here is going to be the Archer UV from Thrunite. So we turn that guy on. Now on the left, the actual hotspot, I'm going to go over both papers. So you can see UV test, a little smiley. And then just in the spill here, you can see the hello. Now when I put the hotspot on it, it's almost blown out because there's too much of that light. All right, so if I just use the spill here, very visible. But the spill is not quite enough on the black here. It's great for the white, but on the black, it's not that visible. I have to actually put over the hotspot there. All right, so that's the Thrunite. All right, next up here is the Olight. So directly over the black, you could see that fine. All right, same thing with the hello, where on the white background, the spill is totally enough of that UV light to illuminate it, but on the black, you actually need the hotspot so you can see it. Interesting. All right, next up here is that Nitecore Tiki UV. So there's the UV light. Putting it on top. You can see the hello fairly well. However, it's very hard to see. I have to get this pretty close to see it on the black background here. Alright, so far this is the weakest of the UV lights. Then we have our Fenix here. Alright, turn that on. Again, you could see with the artifacts are actually horrendous in this one. Alright, just looks like something spilled on the table here. But it's illuminating the hello on the white background. The black, you really can't see anything. If I come in super close, almost directly over and about 2 inches above it, alright, then you can make that out. So probably the second weakest UV light in the group here, right behind the Nitecore. But at least the Nitecore didn't have these horrible artifacts. I mean, that's pretty bad. But again, they're working with a tiny little LED, which is almost like an afterthought since the main purpose of this light is not UV, but the regular LEDs. All right, next up here is the Escolite. Turn that on, and that is quite bright. So you can see not only the black, but also the white very well. All right, if I use just the spill here, the white's fine, black a little dull. But yeah, this works very well. All right, next up is that Darkbeam. So it's now, because this is just an area light here, there's no real hot spot. You can see the white one very, very well. It's very visible, very clear. However, up here, which I'm just right above the camera, probably about 12 to 15 inches, you can't really make out the black. As I get closer though, it appears out of nowhere. So about, I don't know, 7, 8 inches above the table here, it's quite visible. So it's just interesting how these UV LEDs project the light and how strong they are. So where I need to be for the black, it's too bright on the white. It reflects back, so it makes it harder to read. So as I raise it, it's easy to read. And when I get too close, it makes it more difficult. All right, next up here is that Glossday. So the hot spot in the middle from above the camera here works fantastic on the black as well as the white. If the hot spot's actually on the white, it's a little bit too much. So pointing it at the black, you could see everything just fine. Although, I don't know if you could tell, but they are blinking. Like the light is actually kind of coming in and out. And again, I think that has to do with the connection. Let's go ahead and give this a tap. Well, see, now I tapped it, and it that's the hard way to turn it on and off. All right, it's no longer blinking. That just means that the wiring in here is loose. All right, so give it a little tap, turn it on. See? So although this is projecting very nicely and it looks great, it's actually kind of low quality. So if you were to drop this, more than likely it would break. All right, and last up here is the uvBeast V3. Let's go ahead and try this guy out. This is way bright, so hot spot on the black looks great. When I take it off the black, you can't see it. So the spill, even though this is, you know, it's concentrated, so a lot of that power is right in the center there. You can make out the white just fine, but not the black. You actually need the hot spot on there. But if it goes on the white, it's too bright. And this is also something I could probably light up across the room. Again, it's kind of impressive how much throw is in this light with UV LEDs. I've never seen any other flashlight that actually projects UV light as far or as powerful as something like this. Now, as far as how these compare to each other, obviously they all work. They're all transmitting UV light. However, right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that both the Escolite as well as the Glossday, I wouldn't recommend them just because they're, you know, low quality. They are, you know, the more affordable options here at about, you know, $12 to $13. If you get the bigger, larger ones, I think it's like $20 maybe for the 100 LEDs and so forth. The problem is that even though they're pretty bright and they're very impressive, again, you know, right out of the box, brand new, the wiring is a little shoddy. So if you were to drop this, I'd say there's a strong likelihood that they would just break. So, you know, they're impressive in how much light they're projecting for the low price, but because of that low price, you do get lower quality. So just something to keep in mind. If you want the biggest, brightest, craziest one, clearly the uvBeast V3 is what you're looking for. It's also the second most expensive at $59.99. My whole thing though is when I'm using UV light, it's generally not, you know, 30 or 40 feet away. So I don't know a particular, case where I'm going to want that much throw for my UV light. But if you have a reason to, that would definitely be the one for you. Now, if you want something compact, high quality, that's projecting enough light, especially some throw, so if you want to see 5, 10, or 15 feet across the room, these are my choices for sure. The Thrunite Archer UV, as well as the Olight i5 UV. Now, the Thrunite Archer UV is very available right now at $19.95, whereas the Olight, and they compare very similarly as far as performance. Unfortunately, because it's discontinued, it becomes collectible, it's on the secondary market, and it's selling for almost 4 times the price. All right, so I would probably lean towards the Thrunite Archer UV. Again, lower price, very, very similar performance, but also very available. Now, as far as these 3 go, I wouldn't recommend any of them, personally. I think that when you're talking about this Nitecore here, the UV light on it is very, very weak in comparison. And the same deal with the Fenix. The Fenix just has absolutely horrendous artifacts to me. So it's almost unusable. Now the problem with it is that neither one of these lights, the UV is the star. It's just an extra mode. They're regular flashlights that happen to have a UV light in there as well. Now, as far as the Darkbeam goes, I mean, it does work fine. It's just, I like it for the area light here. It is kind of lower quality, but the whole, adjustable beam for throw, I think that's just, too much gimmick here. And it's not really functional, because once you start going with that projection, then you just get, again, a large version of what the LED looks like, and it's just too many artifacts. So it's very distracting to what you're trying to shine it on. So there you go. Those are my opinions on these lights. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you're new to the Thrunite channel, they do free giveaways for products. If you're interested, all you have to do is subscribe to this channel and comment on these videos. Thanks for watching.